I guess I'm back to Dimitri Downey. I call them the ones that I'm doing, Media Unshackled, because that was the official name of the podcast. But we've had so many moderators, so many hosts, so many panelists. The name's changed. But I'm here with Max, Jamie, and Susie. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves further. But we are talking about cannabis brands, branding, global expansion. It's a topic that we could write dissertations about. Economists will be writing dissertations about in business schools across the country 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, and how all the great brands emerged and developed in the cannabis space. But I'm here with three individuals who know a lot about branding and what's happened so far, what is happening now, and what they might believe will happen in the future. And like any brand, the goal is to penetrate as many markets as possible. I guess that's the goal, or to help people. That should be the goal. But first, let me, and we're going to talk about it, but I'll let the panelists introduce themselves.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Hello, everybody. Very excited to be here in Vegas for MJ BizCon. I'm Susie Plascencia. I'm the co-founder and CMO of Mota Glass. We're a leading functional glass brand, which we started in California, and now we've been able to ship pieces across seas, which is great. I'm also the founder of Latinas in Cannabis. We just finished up our meetup here, and so I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Pearson. I am the founder and president of New Holland Group. We are a global consultancy that take brands across borders. My specialty is taking brands into Europe specifically, and also European brands that want to come into the United States. Before I founded the New Holland Group, I was the president and CEO of Bang Corporation. We're famous for our infused chocolate, award-winning chocolate. We are still the number one chocolate in Canada. I had the privilege of taking the brand into 9 European countries and across 11 states.
That's like a mic drop kind of thing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I didn't want to go after that. But my name's
okay.
Max Vansluys. I'm with Dialed In Gummies. We were Colorado's first rosin gummy to launch back in 2020, and we are getting ready to launch into Ohio, our first market out of Colorado.
All right, and Dimitri Downing. That's not important, but by the way, I love you say. Can you say Placencia?
Placencia.
Yeah, it reminds me of that. I love the way that sounds. I'm thinking Valencia. And I know we've been in Spanibus together a few times.
Yep.
So, Jamie, let's start with you. When did you start in cannabis?
Okay, I'll give you the short version. My cousin on my mom's side is DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill.
Yes.
I was an athlete, college, high school, actually played on a USA feeder team. I'm a point guard, did not imbibe, was not a cannabis person. My dad's been growing cannabis 57 years. I'm 55. I always thought my dad was a big druggy loser. And now I know he's the smartest man in the room because he's not an alcohol guy. So he's got PTSD from Vietnam. So I grew up trimming weed. I grew up with a dad who was, doing clandestine. But when Muggs approached me and said, everybody's coming out of the woodwork, help us find a weed deal, it was because he and I had been investing in real estate together. I'm a real estate investor by profession. So that's how I got into cannabis, which was back in about 2012. This is my 12th MJ Biz. So long time ago, and I got into it because my cousin kind of dragged me into the industry. I found Bang. Bang did a deal with Cypress, and the rest is history.
What year was Bang in Cypress?
We started negotiating the deal in 2015. We launched it in 2016. Sold out. Decided that Bang didn't want to, or Cypress didn't want to do any more edible stuff. So it was a once and done, but it was my beginning.
So the Bang exist before Cypress?
What do you mean?
Cypress didn't invent Bang?
No, Cypress Hill, the band.
Yeah, no, I know. But what's their connection to Bang? Sorry.
When Muggs asked me to find a deal for Cypress out as cannabis was starting to legalize, I found Bang in my travels, and Bang was willing to do the deal Cypress wanted, which was that they didn't want to slap their name on a product. They wanted to develop a product that they would be proud using. So we developed a glass skull jar, little glassware, had no seam in it, had a child-proof bucket hat. It was a skull that we put flour in, and then Be Real sourced the flour.
Okay.
And it sold out. It was fantastic. And then we also did a case that looked like a cassette tape And all of the liners were the liners from the Cypress Hill albums, and they held joints. And again, Be Real sourced the weeds. That was my very first foray into cannabis. And Bang did that deal with them. We opened our distribution channels to the Cypress product line. And then when when that project was over and I was like, peace out, I'm going back to real estate, they were like, no, stay on. And that's how
and then you just gave up real estate.
And then I still do it.
I still do real estate.
That I dabble now. Yeah.
All right, Susie, how did you start in cannabis?
Oh man, so I started in cannabis. I went to PR school. I graduated with a degree in PR from USC. I went straight into working for a PR firm, and we represented Montel Williams. And Montel Williams does a lot of advocacy on behalf of...
You're connected to Montel. Wow.
Yeah. So basically, we did a lot of his PR, and he had a big interest specifically in supporting veterans in cannabis. He also deals with MS, so he's a big advocate for cannabis. And so at the time, I was a closet consumer. I was not very open about my cannabis use. Why? Because I've always just been very focused on my studies and my career, and I, as a Latina, because of the stigma that we are faced with, I was never open about my cannabis consumption. So working with Montel and doing a lot of his PR, I was faced with working in cannabis for the first time, and I thought, well, this is strange. Should I be forthcoming? I didn't feel comfortable being forthcoming for a very long time, but once I did, I really felt that I was stepping into the alignment that I was meant to be in. I didn't really consider myself working in cannabis back then. This was 2015 or so, and so I think I wasn't feeling ready. I wasn't confident, and in 2020, we were made aware of what was going on in the functional glass industry. We were made aware because I'm a Spanish speaker myself. I started meeting glass blowers. Gas blowers started letting us know what exists in the glass industry, which is a lot of worker exploitation, a lot of lack of transparency, a lot of lying, and just nobody. It's because it's not, no transparency. People really don't ask about what goes on in the glass industry. It wasn't until a Spanish-speaking glass blower decided to let us know, and we were sitting with this information, and we thought, is there an opportunity to create a brand that actually respects glass blowers, that's trying to keep American manufacturing alive here in the US? And we were advocating to the glass blowers, why don't you guys create a brand? You guys are the glass blowers. Why don't you guys come out with something and really advocate for locally blown? It's amazing. And they go, no, we want to blow the glass. You come up with the brand. And I thought, well, I do know branding. And so that's when Mota Glass was born in 2020, with this idea and mission to support local glass blowers, to protect the art of local glass blowing, and take that worldwide, take it to other states and other countries. That's where glass blowing is respected. And so that's where really the idea came. And Mota Glass was with an idea and became, a worldwide brand now.
Okay, so now we're going to let Max explain how he entered the cannabis space. And then, first a little softball, talk about yourselves, talk about your experience. And then that was almost a really good transition, but I have to get the backs first.
Yes.
And the next question, so you guys can get ready over there, is talk to us about the hurdles, obstacles, and challenges that you have confronted navigating state to state or internationally, and what you see. So that's coming for the two of you next. He's going to have a chance to get prepared for that while you guys talk. But I just gave you a little softball.
I'm ready.
Thanks for the pitch.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead. Tell.
Yeah, I got into cannabis because I wanted to be a part of this industry that is growing so rapidly and starting to shift to become something that's not just out there to get people high, right? And Dialed In Gummies came in as a brand that wanted to shift the edible space. At the time, edibles were mostly distillate and live resin. So we wanted to come in and provide a product that was completely solventless and used a concentrate that had no solvents in it. By doing so, we're giving a very clean product to the consumer, and we're actually promoting the full spectrum experience, right? There is a process out there now, rosin, where you can get all the cannabinoids and terpenes from the plant in the extraction process and use that purest form of concentrate into an edible. And where the space is going right now with cannabis, there are a ton of canna-curious people out there that are starting to look at lower dose SKUs. And so we, as a brand, are starting to look into that. And we just launched a product, actually, that is low dose, 5 milligrams. It's our sleep SKU. And, it's been a fantastic SKU in the Colorado market. And we're getting ready to launch it in the Ohio market. But there's been tons of positive feedback in terms of the consumers that are looking for that smaller dose, because there's a lot of new cannabis consumers coming into the space. 10 milligrams, even though that is the common dose, is kind of too much for a lot of people.
It's not my dose.
No,
I can't do 10 milligrams.
No, and rosin, you are getting a way different experience than your typical 10 milligram experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay, so now this is perfectly set up for you just to drop the wisdom, the
Okay,
knowledge.
what do you wanna know?
The reason why everybody comes to you for consulting and information about how you navigate into international markets and some of the challenges. You guys can talk about the challenges
Max,
you've
they're both
experienced
doing it too.
so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
actively doing it.
Yeah.
You're
Mhm.
actively doing it. But you have the #1 consulting group to help people get into Europe and help European brands get over here. So I'll let you go for a little while.
I also help brands. There's a lot of pivoting into hemp right now. So one of my clients is a vaginal suppository called Hello Again, and it's designed for period pain. It's designed for women in menopause. It helps vaginal dryness. It helps with mood swings and all of those things. Well, imagine women in menopause don't walk into a dispensary and say, "What do you got for my menopause?" So it's a better direct consumer product. So that hemp pivot was really important. So I do a lot of that as well.
Okay.
But what I would say in terms of crossing borders, whether it's a nation or a state, the biggest challenge obviously is that you would want to be able to manufacture your product in one place, control that quality, order your packaging in large quantity, so you can enjoy the economy of scale. But we have a situation where we can't cross state lines. So we have to, in theory, have 50 different manufacturing facilities, 50 different machines, 50 different orders of packaging, because every state has their own rules. So, for example, you have to use the word marijuana with an H in Michigan and, blah, blah, blah. So you have to have sorry, that's my alarm.
That's all right. I didn't hear it.
No one heard it. Okay. And so a lot of the nuance of crossing borders is just understanding the compliance. I think the biggest challenge is you want to give. So what I did was a licensing model, because we were trying to leverage. It's also very expensive to go get 50 different cannabis licenses and have 50 different manufacturing facilities. So the easiest way to spread a brand is by planting flags through licensing. You can either do reverse licensing or you can do forward licensing. Bang did mostly forward licensing. And I would just say some of the challenges are, how do you make sure your gummy that you're eating in Colorado is exactly the same experience for the consumer in Ohio versus in Colorado.
Absolutely.
So how do you get that done?
The quality control, right?
Quality control and tight SOPs, absolutely. And then hiring the right people. It is a big part of, expansion, is finding the right people to trust with your SOPs. That is something that we are dealing with right now. We are getting ready to put out our first batches into the Ohio market. And so we trusted a brand new crew to come through and create these products.
I thought she was applauding for me.
Hey, we should.
We're
let's
having
give
a
you some
parade,
applause.
man.
Let's give you some applause.
What's going on over there?
Mike Tyson.
Oh,
The champ.
Oh,
the Tyson walked by.
oops.
The champ. It is a big challenge, to be able to produce a consistent product state by state by state. But again, with tight SOPs and hiring the right people and having the correct operators that are controlling those SOPs and controlling those formulations, if you can get that started, or if you can get that right the first time and implement it as you go, you should have a fair way to get into those markets.
I want to add to that. And then I want to just tell you, I listened to you in the marketing panel and I'm a fan. And I'm going to buy some glass because I remember you saying you haven't had one piece of land broken, and that's incredible.
Never.
So I think the other issue is you have to protect your IP.
Oh, no doubt.
Right.
And so one of the issues is that's why a lot of companies like Wild and Wana do reverse licensing, because they don't give their SOPs to anybody. They use your license, they use your facility. Your facility runs an 8-hour shift, and then it's empty for 2 more 8-hour shifts. So they'll pick up maybe the midnight to 8 a.m. shift. They'll bring their people in. They run their own SOPs, but they're using your license, your facility, and you get the smaller end of the royalty. So in a forward licensing model, you get maybe 5 to 10% of the revenue, whereas in a reverse licensing model, you get 90% of the revenue. So there's reasons to do both. But obviously you need more revenue, more, I would say, CapEx to bring a reverse licensing model into a state. But it does help you with IP protection, because you're at risk the minute you give your SOPs and your formulations to somebody else. They're at risk.
Yeah. So I think that with regards to challenges, the challenges that we face when we go, to other markets, I reflect on brand storytelling the most.
Yeah,
Jamie,
they want it
you
as
were on
close
it.
to your mouth.
Okay.
No, I'm watching
She's
this
a
guy.
producer.
Okay.
I'm watching
Love
this
it.
guy go.
Am I
tell
close
her.
enough? Okay, right.
There you go.
Yes. So I think one of the challenges is as the brand continues to cross other states and countries, managing and controlling your messaging. Just like you have SOPs with the product itself, the brand needs its own SOPs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a mission statement here and someone has a different understanding of it, they'll sell your brand on their interpretation of your brand.
That's
so
very good point.
You need to be creating marketing materials that are local for where your brand is selling. Sometimes as marketers, it can feel like, okay, we have our marketing materials. We're done, guys. We're done for the year, right? Absolutely not. Marketing materials, they're evergreen documents that need to move with your sales, movements as well. So you need to know your customers and make marketing materials that fit the needs of your customers. You want to make sure that, when you get in for Motagas specifically, we want to be partners for our smoke shops and dispensaries. We don't want to just be like, your glass is here, see ya. We want to understand, how do you sell? How do you like to, to present your glass in your shop? How can we meet you where you are? And creating those assets that help your shop truly sell your glass. So controlling your messaging is one thing. Employees, like you mentioned, is something that really hits home for us. People that understand our mission.
Yep.
Because if you buy Mota Glass, you understand why Mota Glass is important. There's nobody out there that has a Mota Glass and doesn't understand that when you buy Mota Glass, you're supporting local blown. And so making sure that dispensary partners and smoke shop partners also believe that. Because if they're selling your glass and they're like, oh, just any other glass there, you lost the opportunity to really drive your messaging. And so that brand messaging's got to be controlled just as tightly as all the other aspects.
I couldn't agree more. We were very fortunate when we went to Ohio. We were able to purchase our own license. So you bring up a great point. And as I said it, I'm like, yeah, no, you don't want to give away your SOPs when you're in that kind of a situation.
Right.
But we were very fortunate that we could pass it off to our own team. And you also brought up a fantastic point about mission statement and understanding the culture of your business and making sure that the new employees embody that. It's a really big part.
I'll give one real life example. What you were saying is we had a licensing deal with a public company up in Canada called Indiva. In Canada, the marketing rules are very different than in the US. And they had to develop their own Canada compliant marketing. But they just kind of gave their marketing department this mandate, and they didn't come to us. And then we had to shut all of it down because it wasn't on brand. And so, we learned that we have to be out in front of that conversation in our contract. That in that contract, you do not get to talk about our brand in any other way than the way we tell you how you're going to talk about our brand. But we also, that required that our marketing department learn how to be compliant in Canada. So in order to keep the Canadian message on brand, it had to come from our company.
Now, I'm curious because I'm very familiar with the struggles of the brands like yours and have gone through state by state.
Oh, yeah.
And we all very familiar with that, the different licensing deal structures and stuff. And now you're the absolute expert on Europe. You're very familiar with that. Is it a lot different than the same sort of like dealing with the nuances that they're same stuff?
It's pretty much the same as what you would say here. Is that like the example I used with marijuana with an H in Michigan? The only difference is in Europe, the federal government, if you will, is the EU, and each individual country is kind of the equivalent of a state, but they all have their own rules. So there really isn't yet a lot of branding going on in Europe. Right now, the work that I'm doing is getting the brands ready to launch, because there's branding will come, and there's a pilot program in Switzerland where you can use branded product. One of the simple things I gave a client was the recommendation to use a branded exit bag. And I brought a big branded exit bag, that every dispensary.
Good idea.
And they were like, wow. And for us, it's just
So common.
Yeah. But for them, it was like, I don't have to put I can follow the rules with my package in Germany, but here's where I can give the branding. So it's just, you've been around the block a time or two, and you think, well, why aren't you doing that? And you don't realize they don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
He's here thinking, how are dialed in bags going to look at Spanibus?
Exactly.
We're thinking about that right. Sorry, which one? We're thinking about that right now, even with Ohio. Ohio regulations and Colorado regulations are entirely different. We have to get every label approved by the state before we can use it in Ohio. And the regulations are different depending on, who you're going to. I've been told I can't use the word relax, but I see it on other packaging on shelves right now. So it's a big challenge, no doubt about it.
I'm like her student, because what I see right now is that I'm watching all this state stuff. I know all about the state stuff. We help a lot of people, manufacturers and brands, navigate the state stuff. But regardless of what happens with interstate commerce, eventually the United States, and the crossover and the consistency, whatever it exists, these barriers will exist internationally for decades and decades and decades, probably. So you're like one of the first of a kind, like, to do this. It's extraordinary.
Well, I think a lot. Juana's over there. They did a deal with
like as a
Alpen Group.
consultant.
Oh yeah, I think there's a tremendous need for brand consultancy, and I think the one thing I will say to everybody is that the brands that are in America, I think Mota Glass, you said you're already shipping internationally. There will be a huge demand for your product in the smoke shops in Europe, and I think a gummy that's made with live rosin is and clean gummies. They're going to be wanted in Europe, and so having someone like me that I've already got my network in Europe, I know who all the players are. I've had dinner with all of them. Been there for so many years. I know what they're looking for, and if you're providing that for them, it's no different to go open that market than it is to go open New Mexico or Missouri.
Well, this is perfect. We're all in different places. I haven't even started this race yet, so I'm behind all three of you guys. But we're all in this adventure together, and it's an exciting one. And I'm constantly learning. One day I would love to do what you do for all these, to help all these people, because you're really helping people navigate these waters, and you're gonna have to navigate these waters. Maybe you should skip over the rest of the United States, go right to Spain.
To Europe. Yeah.
Go with New Holland, right?
Yes,
I'd
absolutely.
go to Missouri. I would go to Missouri next if I was him.
Missouri, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I kind of like Florida, though. I think if you're just coming into Florida now,
Sleeper.
it's a restart.
Florida's tough. Florida's tough for brands.
It's, yes, on 3 didn't pass in Florida, but I think it's a matter of time. And when it does, that's a really big sleeper market.
Huge sleeper market. I mean, they're up there in number 2, number 3 in revenue, and they're only medical. So just imagine.
Their hemp market's ridiculous, too.
Yeah, it is.
Well, all three of you are wonderful. You are absolute experts in this subject, and I really, really appreciate you guys being here. Let me give you guys 30 seconds closing thoughts, how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested in learning more about Mota Glass, be sure to check out mota-glass.com. Follow us on Instagram at mota_glass. We have a very tight Instagram community. We started Mota Glass direct to consumer because we had just a thriving Instagram community. It wasn't until a little bit after that we started getting into smoke shops. So we're really excited to continue to grow our brand worldwide, and would love to chat with you about that as well. Follow me at Susie Greens and Susie Plascencia, and thank you, Mita.
Yeah, thank you, Mita, for having me on. I would say I'm a sponsor of the 40 Tons booth. I think what they're doing is super important. If you want to find me, find me through 40 Tons. I'd rather plug them than me, frankly. Find me through Mita. Dimitri knows how to find me.
I have her cell number.
And the last thing I would say is a lot of the work that I do also is helping companies raise money, which is, I ran a public company for 7 years. It's not easy to do. Been on the road shows, high net worth individuals, family offices, because right now there's no institutional capital available in cannabis. So with that said, there is a European marketplace for raising money. It's called the Tallman House or the Tallman Group, and they're connecting people that are looking to raise money in Europe with European investors. So if you're interested in that, give me a shout.
we're trying to get Stearns Bank, our big sponsor here, to be the first big bank to bank cannabis brands. That's my goal.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
it's a little
a lofty
difficult right
goal.
now, but where does Coca-Cola get its money from?
Get it done, Dimitri. Get it done.
Dimitri Mida, thanks for having me on. You can find Dialed In Gummies at dialedingummies.com or on Instagram at Dialed In Gummies, and you will be able to buy our product in Ohio as of next week, and also in Colorado and in future markets as the year goes on.
And I'm taking him
Thank
to
you.
Spain. So this is we can work with her.
We can all
be
work
there.
together.
Yes.
We can all work together.
Yeah.
If she'll take you on as a client, then work with her.
We'll go together.
I'm still learning. But this has been another episode of Meet Unshackled.